Hajime everybody. So welcome back. I think it's important to understand that this setup can also be used for people who are just learning how to play like keyboard or a song. It's not big enough to actually do like a whole scale format, but I think for general ideas like basic chord structures and a couple of melody pieces, it's okay. You can actually get sheet music on your iPad, which you can download or you can just look it up on Music Notes. I think it's called Music Notes, which was an app that you can actually use to find music, popular music. Or you can just go to Amazon and find the songs. So today is go through an introduction into, and I'm still learning this too, introduction into how Logic Pro X works. Logic Pro X is on the computer, Logic Pro is on the iPad. So it's about $4 to $5 a month to purchase, if you don't know that already. GarageBand is free, so even starting off with GarageBand, which then links into, and I've said this before, links into Logic Pro. Yeah, so let's test it out. Let's see what we can do here. I don't want to talk on too many of the political topics because that's not my subject. My subject is music and the things around the music. I know people were very interested in the Maui thing, and I know it's extremely important, and I'm very concerned about the people. But I also need to work on developing the vision of what I had in mind for this channel in the first place. So we're shifting. This is the space that we're shifting into for the portable studio. The other studio setup is in my other space. So this is kind of useful. Today I have all my clothing and stuff on the other side, so this becomes like the go-to for me. And yeah, let's get started. I think just to show you how it works, just the basics would be beneficial. There are classes, and I'll probably go into this, there are actually classes Logic Pro gives you to test out on their platform, so you can always go through those, or you can just experiment like I'm doing right now. But I already know the basics of music DAWs, so it's not, for me, it's just kind of literally working my way through how it's used on the iPad versus the computer. You can have a desktop, of course. I use the desktop in the other room, and then I do have a laptop. I don't use it as much. I'm so scared that it's just not practical. It's a great size. I find that I'm always worried that it's gonna fall. And at least, you know, if you have a cover for the iPad and it falls accidentally, it's light enough, it's not gonna break. Hopefully you get a good standing, you know, good cover, and then you should be set. But I just think it's more practical on an iPad. Okay, let's get down to it. So it's literally just a quick show and tell of how the Logic Pro works on the iPad. I do recommend probably even considering getting it if you're old enough, or if your parents are willing to put it down as an option. Or if all else, just go ahead and use GarageBand in the meantime. I still want to know what you guys, I'm seeing a lot of people are still concerned about music theory and all that stuff, because I think music composition is way past the level. Yes, okay. So I've done my master's, but I had done an art master's. I had done music within the arts, and I've just learned over time that the continuation of my music is part of my process. I will never stop doing music, and the YouTube channel has become part of my process of continuing my music education by learning and using YouTube as another skill. Skills are necessary. You want to always keep growing. You don't want to stop yourself from growing in different platforms and manners. I enjoy YouTube because I think I'm able to use my basic graphic design skills in this platform, which is part of the arts. That's part of where I am right now. Okay, so what you're seeing here is all the little bits and pieces that I kind of sent over from the GarageBand on the iPad already. I haven't linked the phone GarageBand with this but I think you would have to airdrop that. Okay, let's say we're starting a new song. You see that little plus sign over there? You see that plus sign? You're going to press that plus sign. Plus sign. That's going to send you to, so you have two options. You have live loops, which I usually use a lot, or you have tracks. Let's start with tracks, and then you can see, let's see the classes I was going to see. These are all recording vocals, instrumental patterns. So these are all the classes, these are the lessons you can take on here. So they give you kind of like a detailed explanation of how everything works. Very good, useful. I do recommend probably even getting this because GarageBand does not have that. They don't have the free classes. So yeah, obviously Logic has thought through that. Okay, let's say track. Let's start with track. Now we do the audio input, we can do the audio input, but we don't. Let's do software instruments. Let's do software instruments. Let's change it. So now we have the Deluxe Classic. What we need to do is we need to drag this in there. Now that's how you would do that on, if you do like Logic Pro X. On your desktop, you can drag a sound into a section, but because it's a simpler format, you're not going to have all the little gadgets to do that. So yeah, you can play basic. Basic chord structures, and then you can, you know, obviously, yeah. Let's go back to this. So this is this is literally set up for composition. So once you've gone past the stage of understanding music theory, you switch into this. So I'm going to move it down an octave on the keyboard. And then obviously you can find, if you don't have this setup, you can use this. I'm just controlling it with the controlling. Same sound, same song, same, okay. So there are two ways to do this. Okay, I'm gonna just close that. Let's put one more in. Let's see what other sounds they have here. Percussion. So you can hear the sound. So let's drag this over. Hold and then drag. That's how you drag. And then you have to create your own beat, right? So now we're going to do software instruments. So we're going to go stop, go back. We're going to do delete now. Okay, so now you know you can delete, you can hold it, double tap it, okay, and then you take it out. So all we're doing is I'm just showing a general idea of how this is set up. Let's go back to instruments. So whenever you want to play an instrument, let's close this. Oh, you have another. This section over here, when you go over here, you can find all these other things. Now loops are useful because they're already preset beats. I like to use them because they are easier. You could always readjust them. Plugins, let's see the plugins. So you would have to plug in with the Yamaha MIDI that I showed you guys in the prior video. So patterns, let's see what the patterns are. Drum machine. Okay, so you have, so that's preset for the patterns. Life has become a lot easier because back in the day when you know, you had to actually create your own sounds. So in the end, I ended up creating my own drum beats with the keyboard, obviously larger than this. Back in 1998 in Tokyo when I was in high school there. And yeah, that's basically it. So that's generally just like a basic introduction, right, of how it looks. And you can explore. Let's see if there are other instruments on here. Let's continue with GarageBand. Let's go back to this one, and let's open up. Okay, and once you press that, you go back into this. Let's open up Logic Pro. So it walks you through. You can see every time you press continue, keep going, it shows you what everything does, which is great because GarageBand does not do this. Okay, and this becomes very useful. Anyway, so I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to get into trouble with the company and give away too much information, but that's generally it. I will probably start working on an idea in a bit. I'm still figuring out little bits and pieces. You could probably use this for beginners. Instruments, if you're learning one hand at a time, I do sort of recommend a larger keyboard because you would only be able to learn like the basic melody structures and stuff. So I have multiple keyboards. I'm a keyboard player, so that's my thing. That's my go-to. Also have other instruments as well. If you play guitar, you can connect the guitar into this, but you'd have to have an extra MIDI in order to do that. It's probably a live speaker on here, but I wouldn't position it as the connection that you'd use for recording because it's just never good. You have to have that internal connection. And yeah, I feel as if, you know, I think more people need to just ask me more questions. I don't know if you have any questions or maybe if you're lost. I know I like to kind of deviate sometimes and talk about popular subjects, but I also need to get back and talk about what I'm trying to do with the channel because as a person starting up a channel, it's important to focus on the main focus, which is the music, right? So, at least in my case, I like to bring it up different variations, and you can see I like to move around the space. We don't have a massive apartment. This is an apartment I live in. It's not a huge space, so having this mobility to be able to shift from one room to another is sort of useful for me. It becomes very handy for certain purposes. I mean, I think getting up and going to a different country, for instance, you can use something like this. As portable as it is, you know, Wi-Fi is accessible. You might not necessarily have a cellular connection, but you can definitely pick up a Wi-Fi anywhere that they, like Starbucks, for instance, they will have. I don't know if there are different Starbucks overseas, but Starbucks usually has Wi-Fi. I just feel as if, like, I don't want to talk too much about this and get into how it's set up, because I feel as if talking about it versus utilizing the introduction, you know, like you can go through all my other videos and you can see that I talk on different levels, which is important. This is definitely more advanced, unless you guys are more advanced and you're wanting to jump into the advanced formats and talk about composition. So today I just gave a basic introduction to the general setup of what Logic Pro looks like on the inside. I'm sure there are other people that are doing videos on it and how it works and functions. I'm still learning it. I know the basics. I mean, I know how to use Logic Pro because I've been using it for all these years, Logic Pro X, but this is new for me. Like, this is as new as, yeah. So I started off on my iPhone only to realize that you could get GarageBand on there. And then once I heard about the Logic Pro on the iPad, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great, because I've been using it. So folks, that's basically it. I think if you have any questions, please just put them down on the messages. I'd like to hear more people's opinions. I'd like to just hear more. Like, it's kind of like crickets right now. Nobody's really speaking much. They're just, maybe the subject is over people's heads. Maybe it's not. People are probably expecting me to perform. I'm not. I'm an entertainer, sort of, but I'm more involved with the education side of the music, because that's what I do. And, you know, obviously doing my master's and all that stuff, it was all about paperwork and research and discussion. So discussion is part and parcel as to what I do generally. Please like and subscribe. I will link some more videos into the music theory. If people have questions of music theory, how Logic Pro X works on the desktop, it's a general setup. It's almost the same. It's just there are a couple more things on here. It's more compact. So everything's more compact. It's not like expanded on a larger screen. So that's the difference. And I might be able to use this mic to record vocals, but I have to still figure out, I still think I need to connect the other parts together. So like and subscribe, please. Yeah, just reach out, just talk to me. I just need to hear people communicating and asking me more questions, because right now there are no questions being asked. Arigatou gozaimashita, matashita sayonara, and bye, and I will speak to you guys in the next one.